Hello and welcome to episode 285 of Sutton Impact Family Style. I'm Jason.
I'm Bill. And I guess I want to start off with a long awaited decision on Robert Sarver. Um, really conflicting stories, conflicting sides, conflicting results. And part of me thinks it's not over. Part of me thinks part of me thinks for sure that he'll sell the team or he'll sell his part of the team. And I mean, he bought it for $400 million. It's worth 1 point, let's say conservatively 1.6, 1.7 billion. It's worth at least that. So I just don't think he can come back from it. You can't be part of all that stuff that's come out. I don't think you ever recover from that. I don't think you come back in the organization or be part of it and have any credibility at all. So I think he goes out. But, I think, you want to say it's his own terms because he's making the decision to sell. But we'll have to see how that plays out. But Silver's gotten a lot of criticism for this. I realize that you can't force an owner to sell. The only people who can force themselves the other owners. But you could have called the question, which they didn't do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of, people still in the organization that want him out, as well as the Players Association and Chris Paul and LeBron. So we'll see. It took a year, which seems to me to be overkill. But then when I think about this, then I really think about the NFL whitewash with Daniel Snyder, because nothing's come out and they say there's no report. And you never hire a consultant and not have a report. Every consultant I know has always done a report. The worst case, you'd have notes.
Yeah.
And so they say there's no written record, which I just can't even believe anybody could believe that. So.
Yeah, well, I think we've learned with all the things that entertain us, from the Hollywood industry to professional sports, like, you have to love it with tinted glasses and overlook a lot of stuff.
Yeah, you do.
And it seems like, obviously, like, it's pretty Teflon. I mean, we still talk sports. We're talking about the NFL. I'm excited for the NFL today. And like you said, you got the Snyder thing. There's lots of players. There's Deshaun Watson. And I play fantasy. I'm betting in the NFL. And I'm watching the NFL. So
yeah,
I don't know where I even, if I can even speak, I mean, I guess all I can do is quote Wu-Tang Clan when they say money rules everything, dollar, dollar bill, y'all, which is pretty much America.
Pretty much it.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about some fun stuff. I mean, there's some fun endings in college football yesterday.
Oh, yeah. App State continuing.
App State and people jumping in the pond. And that was great. That was the perfect way to execute a Hail Mary. You had a guy tip it to another guy and a guy in position to block.
Yeah.
And they did all three things. They tipped it, they blocked, and the guy caught it and ran in. I mean, it was perfectly executed.
And you thought this might be a slight letdown after beating Texas A&M, and now they're going to have Texas A&M followed by the Hail Mary game. So,
yeah. In the first game, they scored 40 points against North Carolina and barely lost.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've had a very interesting year.
Very interesting indeed.
And then, disappointingly, USF almost beat Florida.
Yeah, almost.
And the holder dropped a snap on the field goal attempt with 20 seconds left. That's not a good way to lose.
No, that's a terrible way to lose. And that kid,
you just tied it. No saying they would have won.
No.
But at least, I mean, they played them well. It's one of those Pyrrhic victories. I mean, you could say you played Florida at Florida and only lost by 3. I think they were favored by 20.
Yeah, and you hate to see somebody have that moment where, you fumbled the snap.
You came close, but, it didn't happen.
No, and Alabama roared back after that close game with Texas. Georgia rolled. All the teams we thought would be good. Nebraska had another.
The one that stands out to me the most, Kansas is 3-0.
They are.
And they have the most games they've won, I think, in 10 or 12 years is 4. So they're already at 3-0.
And they got to have at least one cupcake on the schedule somewhere down the road.
They usually are the cupcakes, so it's going
Yeah.
to be interesting to watch. But I said last year I liked this coach, and I thought he was an interesting guy, and I thought he could be a person to lead them, and I obviously got that right because he's also on the list to go to Nebraska. That's the
Yeah.
one thing. I mean, if this guy wins at Kansas, people say, "Wow, I'll give him some resources; he'll be great," and so he'll go somewhere else, and Kansas will be back where they were.
Now,
It's hard to get off the bottom of the scrap heap.
it is at this point. Now, obviously people of our age remember the 90s and remember the Wishbone and all those guys at Nebraska. Like, is Nebraska a step up? Because I know they talk about the Arkansas coach too going there, and it's like, I think Arkansas is as good a program as
You know what? I say
Nebraska.
you would think it's a step up because all the resources are there and you're the focal point. But again, you've been down for so long. It's a step up over Kansas just because it's a football school and that's the priority. So you have more resources and more. He'd have more resources, more opportunities, but he'd also have more expectations.
Yeah,
I mean, if he wins 5 games at Kansas, he's got it.
exactly. And he's building, and he's got this little program he's building. Because you go into Nebraska, you're back to square one because they don't have the talent there right now.
No.
I don't think they have the recruiting. And again, I know Nebraska is in the conference you want to be in, and they have the money and they have the
That's the
resources.
thing. I mean, the money and the payoff and everything. So, and the prestige. I mean, yeah. So we'll have to see.
But you have people
But
that are,
kudos, I just want to give a shout out to Kansas.
yeah,
3-0.
oh yeah,
Notre Dame won. Manti Te'o was back and being celebrated at the game,
which was nice to see.
which was very nice to see. And he had some nice things to say. And he said he's gotten a lot of love from the documentary on Netflix,
Which I recommended to you guys, and you should watch.
which you
2
recommend.
episodes.
Yep, I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, I think it's really really good. I mean, you're gonna see everybody's perspective on it and see the timeline and things along those lines. And I think it's definitely, it paints the whole thing in a new light.
And he cooperated with making the video, right?
Oh yeah, he's in it. The Cat Fisher is also in it, who, like I said, is actually a fourth generation. 4 generations of his family, the Cat Fisher, were in the NFL. So it's a whole thing. And it said when it all comes down, like, you get to see everybody's perspective and how he was fooled, and it's pretty crazy
Yeah.
because it's much more involved than you think it is. That's all I'm gonna say. And again, it's 2 episodes, so it's not like they didn't turn into a 6-part miniseries or anything crazy.
No. Well, I mean, Georgia looks like a world beater.
Yes, they do.
You got Alabama, you got Ohio State, and Michigan. I mean, those are your top 4.
I don't.
Probably don't see that changing for a while.
Yeah, I think Michigan got their win over Ohio State for the decade, though. I don't see them beating Ohio State this year.
No, probably not.
Not with both teams at full strength. I mean,
But Georgia looks scary.
yeah, Georgia looks real, real good.
And, it's interesting because a lot of those guys played a lot last year because they were blowing everybody out. So it's not like they didn't have a lot of experience because they did.
I know. And,
And there's no quarterback controversy this year. There was last year, at least in the beginning. So, I mean, you got a guy that's in charge and he's confident and he's won a national championship. Interesting to see.
it sure is. But it does feel like those are our schools. I don't think there's a dark horse out there.
No.
I mean, there'll be other playoff, but
They're making noise about BYU. If BYU beat Oregon, that they could be the Power 5 school in the playoff. And they got hammered yesterday. They got beat by like 30-some points.
yeah, they got destroyed. So
that's over. Yeah, it's interesting stuff. I mean, Miami got beat by A&M. Close game. 2 top 20 teams. Texas A&M comes back, but it still don't look that good for somebody that was ranked number 6 to start the year.
no.
Southern Cal looks good. Oklahoma looks good. Oklahoma State has got a 3-0 record, but they haven't played anybody. So we'll see what happens there. I watched Gundy's son actually played almost the whole, played more than a half.
Oh, nice.
Like he was in there in the second quarter as a quarterback.
And what'd you think?
Yeah, for a freshman or whatever he is, he looked pretty good. But you're playing Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean, what can I can't really say anything. You're not. You really. I mean, the opposition is just so bad. I mean, when I saw the line yesterday, the line was 54 points, and I'm thinking, Oklahoma State's not going to win by 54. I should bet that, and I didn't, and they won by 56.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can. That's a good transition to our gambling conversation.
Yeah, let's talk about your betting experience this past week.
Yeah, so I joined with FanDuel, where if you bet a $5 NFL bet, they give you eight $25 bets that you have to make within 3 days for free. And so far, I have turned my $5 into $473.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and when you get your eight free bets, I made three ridiculous bets where they would turn $25 into over $2,000. Those all failed, not surprisingly. And most of my bets that won, including a 49-point Alabama spread yesterday, which they covered easily, I'm taking the layups.
Yeah.
I'm not making, giant chunks of money here and there, but, every time you turn 20 into 30 or 20 into 35, that's a win,
It is, and like a lot of people, because it is found money, they would have bet it all on the long shots and already been out already.
Yeah.
Whereas you've already cashed out and you still have money to play with.
To be fair, the first time I messed with sports gambling back in college, I did the dumb thing. So I have technically already been on the other side of that,
Yep.
But yeah, this time I'm just, I look at all the bets and the only ones I feel, and again, you can never be 100% confident. I had Odell in the Super Bowl to have over 70 yards receiving. He had 60 when he went out with his knee injury. So
Yeah.
we knew that was going to happen, but, an injury happened. So you just never know where the game goes. But I would just say, it's a really good deal to take advantage of, but know yourself and know, but it's a lot of free money to throw out, which again, I get why they do it because it's, it's the whole principle of a drug dealer.
Money is getting people to play.
Yeah.
And for everybody that does it, there's going to be people that stay on and lose a lot of money.
And it's hard to imagine with your
just playing your own odds,
Yeah. And it's hard to imagine with 8 free bets of $25, you're not going to hit on one or two, right? So you're going to get that.
It's hard to believe that.
You're going to get the rush of winning. You're going to see you put down 5, you're going to see your free $200, either balloon over 200 or still be like $100. And you're like, well, this is great. This is so much fun. And it is fun. I totally get why there's gamblers and Gamblers Anonymous in Vegas and sports books. But yeah. But again, don't be afraid to take layups. It's still fun to win, even if you're winning a little bit.
And so what we're saying is have fun. Don't get carried away.
Yeah. And again, at the very least, you bet your $5 NFL bet. You get your free bets, just like Jamie Foxx tells you on the TV. Make some conservative bets, and maybe walk away by turning your $5 and $100, never bet again.
Yeah.
The casino's giving you free money. Just take it,
And you get Jamie Foxx on one chase, and you get Kevin Hart. The same deal on another vendor.
Yeah, you had Clyde Drexler and Moxie Bogues and Patton Oswalt on another. They're all over the place. They want your money.
Yeah.
They want you to sign up.
They want you to sign up. That's what they want.
Because they just feel like eventually you're going to get caught. And then, if it's not during the regular season, you're going to be like, what's going to make the Super Bowl more fun? $50 on the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, there's
March Madness and everything else that comes along, right? The Masters.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you got it all.
Like I said, I never bet college football, but I bet a football parlay yesterday. But again, I bet all blue chips to cover against tiny opponents. So it wasn't really the biggest gamble. But it is always a gamble. So it's with that, fine line.
Yeah. And I told you when I get done today, I'm gonna go ahead and go on. And I know 2 things I'm definitely gonna bet. I'm gonna bet the under in the Steelers Patriots. And I'm going to bet the Bengals to cover over the Cowboys. Those are my 2 locks of the day.
Yeah, and I have the Bengals and the Steelers both in those. And like I said, I also, if you want to make fun of my gambling, I bet the Bengals, I bet the Bills, and I bet, I can't remember the third. Oh, the Packers to beat the Bears.
Speaking of the Bills.
Yes.
Definitely look like the class of the NFL right now.
They look, because again, we're in hyperbole season anytime people speak about sports, right?
Right.
But the one thing that I don't think people ever compared Josh Allen to was Tom Brady. But they were comparing him to Tom Brady with the way he was picking apart the defense, taking what he
Yeah.
was giving him, ball placement, and he looked fantastic. The Bills looked awesome. Von
And he
Miller,
can run.
yeah, Von Miller looked like a beast. Stephon Diggs torched Jalen Ramsey,
Jalen Ramsey, yeah.
the best cornerback in football, and just ate his lunch. Gabe Davis looked good. The combination, the one pick that Josh Allen threw was Isaiah McKenzie bobbling the ball and then the defender wrestling it away from him. And the other throw wasn't a great throw to Crowder, but he looked in complete command. He could run when he wanted to run. Ball placement, deep ball, all levels of the field. He looked so good. And
Yeah.
yeah,
The only thing that's going to mess with the Bills this year is they're not going to be playing it Sunday at 1 o'clock very consistently like most NFL teams.
no.
Because they're going to be on prime time and they're going to be moving around. And then when the flex schedule comes later in the year, they're going to get some flex games Sunday night.
Because they're one of the best teams. They've got a lot of fantasy players. They're must-see TV.
Yeah.
I guess the next game to talk about from last week before we get to our favorite team, the biggest game was probably Thursday night, right? Kansas City Chargers.
Kansas City Chargers, yeah.
And Kansas City, the pick six, 99-yard return that
Turned the game around.
turned the game around.
It would have been a 14-point Charger lead, and it ended up becoming a 7-point Charger lead because they cut it.
Yeah.
So, and it was a momentum changer. I mean, it was. What can you say? It was just it was. You look a lot. The guy that was the intended receiver wanted out of the play because he was winded from the play before.
Yeah.
And if you watch him run his pattern, he didn't run his pattern.
No, he did
And
not.
he sloppily just turns around because he's exhausted, and the guy just steps in front of him. So they should have taken a timeout, got the guy out of the game, and maybe it doesn't happen. So that one's on the Chargers.
Yeah, and again, the Chargers, I feel like we've been saying this even before. I mean, it's basically been from Phillip Rivers on. Like, they always have a very talented football team on both sides of the ball. They're capable of beating anybody, and they have a tendency to. I don't know if it's like even though they moved from San Diego to Los Angeles, like it's still there. Whatever that lack of that last gear is,
Yeah.
And then Mahomes was Mahomes again. Like that first touchdown pass he threw, the broken play, he's scrambling, he gets out of one tackle, and then he throws the sidearm touchdown to McKinnon. Like he's just
that was pretty outstanding.
That was incredible. Like he's absolutely just his arm angles, ball placement, and I think the defense of the Chiefs I think is what really stood out to me. They looked a lot better than they have in years past. They're getting more consistency out of their three running backs. And I think,
Kelsey looked very good again.
Yeah. I mean, they could really use, despite Juju and Marcus Valdez-Scantling and Sky Moore, I think they miss, none of those guys are even close to number one wide receivers.
No, they're not.
Juju's been a very solid number two, and you could argue that Kelsey's the one, but Kelsey's still the tight end. So, I mean, you'd like to see one of those guys become a little bit better, but along with the Bills, I mean, the way the Chargers have played the first 2 weeks, you can't count them out. And then I guess we can talk about, the defending AFC champion Bengals going down to our Steelers.
Yeah, I mean, for having 5 turnovers, that shouldn't have been an overtime game.
And 7 sacks.
But 5 turnovers, 7 sacks, but you didn't execute. Your offense was terrible.
Yeah.
You did nothing on it. You did nothing. You played not to lose from an early point in time. And Tomlin's famous for that. That you play not to lose. You don't take a chance. You don't do anything, and that's what happens. So
No, and
I just don't think they can play like that.
7 sacks, 5 turn.
I always talk about it when you get a chance to put your foot on somebody's neck and snap it. You have to do it.
And in your mind as a Steeler fan, and I'm sure other fan bases can relate to this, you try to figure out what the problem is, right? But the offensive line has been an issue now for about 5 seasons.
Right.
Then you're like, well, it's Ben Roethlisberger and his path throwing, and Mitch Trubisky didn't look any better. I mean,
He looked the same.
he looked the same.
The same place.
Yeah.
It looked like there was nothing changed at all.
No. And again, I know I've mentioned this before on the show, but I mean, you could see it in a couple of games. Like outside of the Fryermuth play and the two plays to the tight ends, the flea flicker and the screen to Gentry, like those were the only plays that looked like, oh my God, they got the defense. Whereas you watched, we'll probably transition to the Vikings and as good as Justin Jefferson looked like. Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver arguably in football, was wide open. Cooper Kupp is wide open. I know some of that's talent, but I feel like between Johnson, Claypool, and Pickens, the Steelers have those guys, but they're. And again, I don't know. Maybe it is Matt Canada, but it's something,
You got to show me there's no innovation there. There's nothing different.
No, and just because now all of a sudden you're under center a couple more times, and Deontay Johnson is in motion one way, in motion the other way, back in motion, which he wasn't doing under Roethlisberger. Like the results were still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Vikings.
Let's talk a little Trey Lance, Jake, because you're a Trey Lance fan.
I was. I put big. He's my starting quarterback in fantasy football. Not that anybody wants to hear about anybody else's fantasy football team, but. It's been controversy all season long. I don't think the Jimmy G thing was anything to talk about. I feel like if the 49ers could have gotten good value for him, they would have. But they didn't.
Yeah, they weren't gonna give him away.
And they're not going to give him away. Like, it's silly. If you consider yourself a Super Bowl contender and you like your starting quarterback, like if you can have arguably the best backup in football, why are you going to trade him away for a 5th or 6th round pick? Like, it's just pay part of his salary. Like, you're better off, getting the compensatory 3rd or 4th round pick the following year and have a good backup on your team this year. Like it just makes more sense.
But at the same time, if you're Trey Lance and you keep looking over the sideline and Jimmy G's there, I don't think it does wonders for your confidence either.
No, and what we're hoping, and this, the national media has made this news, and I'm sure 49er fans have rationalized this as well, is that Bears game that they lost to the Chicago Bears, which is already pretty sad, was a free. I mean, they had to digitally put lines on the field because the water washed it all away. Like, they looked like they were playing on like a slip and slide. So you hope that it was just a freakish day where, you're playing in essentially a monsoon and nobody really looked good. And the Bears made a couple of.
Here's a bad stat for you that Talking Heads just put out.
Okay.
The most passes underthrown or overthrown in week 1. Okay?
Okay.
So the worst accuracy, let's just say. Josh Fields and Trey Lance for 1 and 2.
Okay.
But that was in the monsoon.
Yeah. Is Joe Flacco on this list?
No, you don't want to know who number 3 is because he plays for our favorite team.
Yeah, Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah.
In one of the funniest, Marie and I, we always have a sitcom we're watching, and we just watched New Girl. Mm-hmm. And in New Girl, which I think ended in 2017 or 2018, I think they probably stopped filming in 2017. Nick, the character, is from Chicago, and they show his kid in a little future clip wearing a Trubisky jersey. And I was like, that's probably one of the things that has aged most poorly,
Yeah.
Yeah, he did not look good. And at least, like I said, Lance and Fields are both very young raw quarterback prospects that played in a monsoon where, just torrential downpours, you couldn't even see the field. But Trubisky, I don't know what his excuse is. Because again, Fryermuth, Pickens, Claypool, Johnson, Najee, like there's people to throw to.
Yes, there are.
Yeah, well, hopefully
there are.
Yeah. Well, the Patriots, the team our team is playing today, did not look very good in week 1, did they?
But they are the Patriots.
But they lost 21-7 to
Steelers.
Yeah. But again, if we're talking history, they did lose to the Dolphins in September in Miami, which they did that when they had Brady. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. It's not really like oh my God, what are we going to do? Did anybody else stand out for you other than, I guess, the Packers are probably somebody worth talking about, right?
Yeah, and I am going to put a lot of that on Aaron Rodgers not being ready to play. I'm going to put that on him not being ready to play with the guys he had on the team. Definitely put it that way.
Yeah. He doesn't seem like the kind of quarterback that, if Peyton Manning was coming into this season,
he'd had those guys at his house for a month.
He would have those guys at his house for a month, exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking of the Mannings, I really enjoyed the Manning cast this past week because they were subtly tearing down the quarterbacks they were watching and the play calling and everything else, and I thought it was pretty funny. Because that Broncos game,
I gotta admit it was pretty funny, but it's all Peyton. It's really not Eli.
no, Eli's kind of a waste. Maybe they should throw Gunner on there and see somebody else, but yeah.
And it's like on the College Bowl show, Cooper's is kind of there as well.
Yeah.
You're trying to do what you do, but it's not all that.
No, and I'm sure Peyton loves his brother and loves having him on there, and
he's taking care of them both. So
yeah, but I mean, I guess I know everybody else has already talked this to death, but what did you think at the end of the Broncos game? You paid 2 firsts, 2 seconds, and $200 million for Russell Wilson. You got Cortland Sutton, you got Jerry Jeudy, and you set up for a 64-yard field goal.
Yeah, I'm not there
on 4th and 5.
I mean, if that's my plan, his plan was to get to the 46-yard line, and he got there.
Yeah.
So, is that really your plan? I mean, yeah, you got to.
You got a great.
If you're playing with a backup quarterback, then go for the 63-yard field goal. But you got Russell Wilson. You spent all the money. It was just bad. It was bad coaching. It was.
And again, I think analytics. I know they have a very good. Yeah. I know McManus is a very good kicker, but the odds of hitting a 64-yard field goal are like 13%. And technically the odds for going 4th and 5 are like 46%. So I don't know what to do. But Russ did not look, did you watch the hate fest between Richard Sherman and Doug Baldwin? Like, I don't know if there's ever been a quarterback more disliked by his teammates for seemingly, they just don't like him.
No.
Like, you went to 2 Super Bowls with Russell Wilson. I guess I'll put up good stats. And I know there's the controversy. He threw the interception instead of handing it to Marshawn Lynch. We've seen the commercials and the parodies. But, I mean, there were everyone who was former teammate was just relishing how badly he played.
Yeah, and I would have bet the farm that the Seahawks weren't, Geno Smith and the Seahawks were not going to beat them. But they did.
I actually bet on the Seahawks to win.
Good for you.
I just figured that was the Pete Carroll, we know this guy, we hate him. Because I don't think I think for a guy that has such a huge plan and likes to be in the media as much as he does, I haven't seen anybody, I've come to accept that he's beloved and he seems like he's changed quite a bit. But early on in Tiger Woods' career, I thought he was a very phony person. And you could argue I was proven right. Russell Wilson is the most phony person I've ever seen in the media. Like, he just comes across like such a weirdo. It feels like everything is calculated, like he's got this plan to be some sort of global icon, but it's, say what you want about Peyton Manning, but Peyton Manning seems like he's Peyton Manning all the time.
Yeah, I would say that's true.
Russell Wilson seems like he's always got a facade of whoever he is as a person. Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I've never seen even former receivers like Doug Baldwin and people that he threw the ball to just roasting him on Twitter. It's just kind of crazy.
Well, there's a bunch of games I'm looking forward to watching today.
Yeah, the NFL schedule the first 2 weeks has been stellar.
Yeah.
I mean, Tom Brady in New Orleans, where he's always had trouble. We're excited about that. Pittsburgh, New England.
I'm excited about Baltimore, Miami.
I am too, because I have I know this is a heavy gambling show apparently now, but I did not want to touch that game.
Yeah.
I mean, betting on Tua is scary, because I don't think Tua is very good. But Miami's got some serious weapons. Baltimore doesn't look like they're quite all the way there yet. It's nuts. I mean, I want to see, can the Bengals bounce back against Dallas? I want to see if the Packers bounce back against the Bears. I want to watch Trey Lance. I want to watch Russell Wilson this week.
A lot of good stuff. Doubleheader on Monday Night Football.
It's a football. Like I said, it's been fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, did you say you had a food?
I do have food.
Okay.
Again, at my old reliable Casa Di Stefano, which is the Sicilian restaurant owned by Richard Gonsmart, the Tampa restaurateur and owner of the Columbia, the most famous restaurant in Tampa.
Yes.
Went last night and had snapper livornese, which is, a Italian snapper. And it was unbelievable. In fact, and every time I go there, I say, this is the best meal I ever had there. And last night I said it again. I mean, I've never had something that I didn't go out and just rave about.
That's fantastic.
And Mom had lobster linguine pasta. And the goal was we were both going to order what we wanted to order and split those things.
Yeah.
I gave Mom a bite of my fish, and I took a bite of hers, and I ate the whole fish. So it was so good I didn't live up to my promise and share with her. It was just too good.
Oh, wow.
And it was the first time I had it on the menu. And it replaced my other favorite dish, the swordfish, with it. So I was just blown away. It was unbelievable. Really good.
Very nice.
Yeah. How about you? Have you food?
I don't. We are, we did have our cheat meal yesterday. We're going to do like The Rock. We're going to eat really healthy 6 days a week and then have one meal where we get to go crazy. But I just went to Pizza Delicious again, which was delicious. But I've talked about Pizza Delicious before, so not a lot to say on that.
When we come down for your wedding celebration, what's the pizza place we're going to?
Probably Z's. Z's is probably the best one.
No, I mean, where are we having your reception at Pizza Place?
Oh, yeah, that's Pizza Place. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Nola Pizza Co., which is also very good.
Okay.
And they've actually expanded their menu now, too. So they have some kind of zucchini app and some other stuff. I haven't tried any of the other stuff. I've only had the pizza. And only the cheese pizza.
Hey, nothing to argue about good pizza.
No.
Good pizza's good pizza.
It's true. And I guess my only slight entertainment moment would be I watched season 5 of Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, on Netflix. And if you've enjoyed the first 4 seasons, you'll enjoy the 5th season as well. I don't know who else they can bring back for season 6. There's another person from the old movies that I didn't remember watching, but I'm sure they'll find somebody.
Yeah. Well, baseball-wise, we're going to watch Aaron Judge try and get to break Roger Maris's 61 with the Yankees.
Yep.
And we're going to watch Albert Pujols, who only needs 2 home runs, and he's got 6 games against the Pirates. So I think that's a lock that he'll get to 700.
I really hope so.
Speaking of the Pirates, if you haven't watched it yet, go to YouTube and watch Key Brian Hayes eat sunflower seeds in the middle of a play playing third base with a runner rounding third, going home. Middle of a play. The glove is off his hand, and he's reaching for his sunflower seeds.
It's not a great look.
Not a great look.
That coming after the cell phone.
And I had that with Castro sliding into third base about a month ago and a cell phone coming out of his pocket.
Yeah.
And I am now way off the Derek Shelton bandwagon saying we need a change. You need some discipline. And then you and I talked about Brian Flores bringing discipline to the Steelers defense. And so I want the Pirates to have some discipline.
Yeah. I mean, the Patriots have always famously been a very disciplined team, and Flores came out of the Belichick system, and it seems like, he stepped in right away and sort of brought some of that to it. I mean, the Steelers defense looked phenomenal, and they lost TJ Watt this week, so we'll see what they do without him, but everybody looked like they were flying around, knew what they were doing. It looked great. And I hope we see more of it this week, obviously.
I feel bad for TJ Watt because he was playing unbelievable. He and Minka Fitzpatrick and Cam Hayward were unreal the whole game. And Alex Highsmith. I mean, they look great.
Yeah, TJ Watt.
I'm looking forward to seeing what they do today.
A sack, 3 tackles for a loss, 2 passes defended, and an interception. And he was just disruptive the entire game.
Yep.
And then the torn pec. But it looks like partially torn, right?
Partially, some people say 4 weeks, some people say 6 weeks. But they put him on IR, so he's out for 4 for sure.
Yeah.
And it'll probably take him at least a week or so to play back into, being able to play again. So we'll see.
Despite them being 1-0 and hopefully 2-0 after today, and I know they still have the Jets in these first 4 weeks, so they could look really good for the first half of the season, and who knows.
Yeah.
Selfishly, I want Watt to stay out as long as he needs to be 100%. And Najee already mentioned it himself. Like, this is not the year to run Najee Harris into the ground. You got Jaylen Warren. Let's split those carries up. Let's keep both those guys, next year.
Let's see what happens. Oh, and by the way, the NHL exhibition game season started the other night, so it's already hockey season. Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, the hockey and basketball just starts so early. And
Yeah.
baseball goes so long. I mean, but I think if you look at sports clips, watch sports talk shows, including or listen to sports, including ours, like football sort of just, rules the roost.
Yeah, it does. There's no question about it.
And again, it's my favorite, so I can't say anything about it.
That's it. Well, everybody, have a good week. And don't be afraid to go try your $5 bet to get $200 worth of free bets.
And I think that one is the Fan Duel. But they're both giving away a bunch of free stuff, so.
And I think DraftKings does it too. Kevin Hart does DraftKings, I think. They both have the same thing. And it's a good inducement. So, like I said, as soon as I hang up, I'm going to do it. So.
Oh, I'm using DraftKings. Sorry, that's the one I have.
Okay.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't get anything from do it, but, yeah, awesome.
All right.